respected, one day you will realize that the greatest battles of your life were never meant to be fought with a crowd beside you. The dream that changes your future, the pain that transforms your character, and the journey that reveals who you truly are will often require you to walk alone. And when that moment comes, you must not be afraid, because sometimes the path to greatness has only one set of footprints. There is a truth that many people spend their entire lives trying to avoid. It is a truth that hurts when you first discover it, but it becomes one of the greatest gifts you will ever receive. The truth is this: not everyone is going to understand your vision. Not everyone is going to support your goals. Not everyone is going to believe in what you are trying to become. And sometimes, the people you expected to stand beside you will be the very people who walk away when things become difficult. I want you to imagine a young man sitting alone in a small room. The walls are plain. The future is uncertain. His bank account is nearly empty. His friends are out enjoying life while he is working late into the night on something nobody else understands. Every day he hears the same questions. Why are you wasting your time? When are you going to get serious? What if it doesn't work? The people asking those questions are not evil. Some of them genuinely care. Some of them love him, but they cannot see what he sees. They cannot feel the fire that burns inside his heart. They cannot hear the voice that keeps telling him there is something bigger waiting for him. So day after day, he continues working alone. No applause, no recognition, no guarantees, just faith. And that is where most people quit. Most people are willing to chase a dream when everybody is cheering. Most people are willing to work hard when results arrive quickly. Most people are willing to believe when success is visible. But very few people can continue moving forward when they feel completely alone. That is why extraordinary lives belong to extraordinary believers. Because before the world sees your success, you have to see it. Before the world respects your journey, you have to respect it. Before the world believes in you, you have to believe in yourself. Life has a strange way of testing people. It asks difficult questions. How badly do you want it? Will you continue when nobody is watching? Will you keep going when the rewards disappear? Will you stay committed when the excitement fades? Those questions cannot be answered with words. They can only be answered through action. Many years ago, there were people who dreamed of changing their lives. Some became successful. Others gave up. The difference was not intelligence. The difference was not talent. The difference was not luck. The difference was endurance. One group kept moving. The other group stopped. And often, the people who kept moving were the ones walking alone. There is something powerful about solitude, not loneliness. Solitude, loneliness is feeling abandoned. Solitude is discovering your strength. Loneliness makes you feel empty. Solitude teaches you who you really are. When the noise disappears, something remarkable happens. You begin hearing your own thoughts. You begin understanding your own values. You begin recognizing your own potential. And for the first time, you stop living according to other people's expectations. Many people spend years trying to fit into places they were never meant to belong. They change themselves to gain approval. They silence their dreams to avoid criticism. They lower their standards to keep everyone comfortable. But growth does not happen inside comfort. Growth happens when you are willing to stand apart. Growth happens when you are willing to be misunderstood. Growth happens when you are willing to walk a road that nobody else is willing to travel. Think about a seed planted deep beneath the ground. Nobody applauds the seed. Nobody notices the seed. Nobody celebrates the seed. For weeks and months, it grows in darkness, alone, silent, hidden. Yet that hidden season is preparing it for something incredible. The roots are growing stronger. The foundation is becoming deeper. The unseen work is creating future strength. And one day, that seed breaks through the surface. People suddenly notice. People suddenly admire. People suddenly celebrate. but they never saw the lonely season underground. They never saw the struggle. They never saw the waiting. They never saw the faith. Your life is no different. There will be seasons when it feels like nothing is happening. Seasons when nobody understands your sacrifices. Seasons when your progress seems invisible. But those seasons are not punishment. Those seasons are preparation. The greatest mistake you can make is believing that being alone means you are losing. Sometimes being alone means you are growing. Sometimes being alone means you are being prepared for responsibilities that others cannot handle. Sometimes being alone means life is teaching you how to depend on your own discipline instead of external validation. Because there is a dangerous habit many people develop. They become addicted to approval. They need somebody to encourage them before they take action. They need somebody to agree before they make a decision. They need somebody to support them before they believe in themselves. But confidence built on approval is fragile. The moment approval disappears, confidence disappears too. Real confidence is different. Real confidence is waking up every day and continuing the journey even when nobody is cheering. Real confidence is trusting your vision when nobody else can see it. Real confidence is looking at uncertainty and deciding to move forward anyway. There will come a day when your dream asks a difficult price from you. It may ask for your comfort. It may ask for your certainty. It may ask for relationships that no longer align with your future. And when that day arrives, you must be willing to pay the price. Because every meaningful transformation requires sacrifice. Every great achievement demands commitment. And every powerful success story contains moments where someone had to stand alone. Not because they wanted to, but because growth required it. The strongest version of yourself is waiting on the other side of that lonely road. The question is whether you are brave enough to keep walking. The hardest part of walking alone is not the work. Most people think the struggle comes from the long hours, the sacrifices, or the obstacles standing in your way. But the real challenge is something much deeper. The real challenge is doubt. Not the doubt coming from strangers. Not the doubt coming from critics. The doubt that comes from your own mind. Because there will be nights when you stare at the ceiling, wondering if you're making a mistake. There will be mornings when you wake up exhausted and question whether the dream is worth the effort. There will be moments when you compare your journey to everyone else's and feel as though you are falling behind. And that is exactly where many people lose the battle, not because they failed, but because they convinced themselves they were failing. I remember hearing a story about a man who spent years trying to build a better life for his family. Every morning before sunrise, he would leave home. Every evening after dark, he would return. For years, the rewards seemed small. The progress seemed invisible. The sacrifices felt endless. One day, his son asked him a simple question. "Dad, how do you keep going when things aren't working?" The father smiled and answered with words that changed everything. "Because I don't judge my life by today's results. I judge it by the direction I'm moving." Think about that for a moment. Most people measure success by results, but successful people measure success by progress. One focuses on what has happened. The other focuses on where they are going. When you are doing it alone, progress becomes your best friend. You may not have applause. You may not have recognition. You may not have immediate victories. But if you are moving forward, even one step at a time, you are already winning. The problem is that we live in a world obsessed with instant success. People want transformation overnight. They want confidence without discomfort. They want rewards without sacrifice. They want victory without struggle. But life does not work that way. The strongest trees take years to grow. The most beautiful diamonds are created under pressure. The greatest stories are built through perseverance. And the strongest people are often shaped in seasons when nobody is watching. That season alone is not a curse. It is a classroom. It teaches lessons that crowds cannot teach. When you walk alone, you learn responsibility. You stop waiting for someone else to save you. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop making excuses. You begin understanding that your future is connected to your daily choices. And that realization changes everything. Because once you accept responsibility, your power returns. You stop saying, "Someone should help me." You start saying, "What can I do today?" You stop saying, "Nobody believes in me." You start saying, "I believe in myself." You stop saying, "Life isn't fair." You start saying, "I will make the most of what I have." That shift is powerful. It separates dreamers from achievers. There is another lesson that solitude teaches. It reveals who truly belongs in your life. When everything is easy, everyone wants to be around you. When success is visible, people naturally gather. When the spotlight shines, support seems abundant. But when the struggle begins, something interesting happens. The crowd becomes smaller. The phone becomes quieter. The invitations become fewer. The support becomes limited. At first, this can feel painful. You wonder why people disappeared. You wonder why relationships changed. You wonder why some people stopped believing. But later you realize something important. Not everyone is meant to travel the entire journey with you. Some people are part of a chapter. Others are part of a season. Very few are part of the whole story. And that is okay. Because every person who leaves creates space for growth. Every closed door creates room for a new opportunity. Every disappointment teaches a lesson that success never could. One of the most dangerous things you can do is cling to people who are no longer aligned with your future. Sometimes we hold on to relationships because of history. Sometimes we hold on to environments because they feel familiar. Sometimes we hold on to limitations because they feel safe. But growth often requires release. You cannot become who you are meant to be while holding on to everything you used to be. The butterfly cannot remain a caterpillar. The eagle cannot spend its life in the nest. The person you want to become cannot keep making decisions based on fear. At some point, you must trust the process. At some point, you must step forward even when certainty is unavailable. At some point, you must accept that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving despite fear. Every successful person has experienced fear. Every successful person has experienced uncertainty. Every successful person has experienced moments when quitting seemed easier. The difference is that they continued, not because they always felt strong, but because they refused to surrender. That is an important distinction. Strength is not always loud. Strength does not always look confident. Sometimes strength looks like getting out of bed when you don't feel motivated. Sometimes strength looks like trying again after failure. Sometimes strength looks like taking one more step when your heart wants to quit. The world often celebrates dramatic victories, but the greatest victories are usually invisible. The decision not to give up, the decision to keep believing, the decision to keep showing up, the decision to keep moving forward. Those are the moments that shape destiny. One day, people may look at your success and assume it happened suddenly. They will see the result. They will not see the years of preparation. They will not see the silent battles. They will not see the tears, the disappointments, the setbacks, and the lonely nights. But you will know. You will remember every moment when giving up felt easier. You will remember every obstacle that tested your faith. You will remember every step you took alone. And when you finally reach the place you once dreamed about, the reward will mean more because you earned it. Not through shortcuts, not through luck, not through waiting, but through persistence, through discipline, through faith, and through the willingness to keep walking when nobody else was willing to walk beside you. Because sometimes the road that feels lonely is actually the road leading you toward the life you were meant to live. There comes a moment in every meaningful journey when life stops testing your abilities and starts testing your character. At first, success seems simple. Work hard, stay focused, keep moving. But after a while, the challenge becomes something entirely different. The challenge becomes staying committed when the results take longer than expected, because dreams have a way of stretching your patience. You imagine the finish line. You picture the breakthrough. You see the future in your mind, but reality often moves slower than your expectations. And during that waiting period, something powerful happens. You discover who you really are. Anyone can stay motivated for a few days. Anyone can feel inspired after watching a video or hearing a speech. Anyone can feel confident when everything is going well. But what about the days when nothing seems to change? What about the weeks when your effort produces no visible reward? What about the months when you feel forgotten, overlooked, and exhausted? Those are the moments that define your future. I want you to imagine a mountain climber standing at the base of a massive mountain. The peak is hidden by clouds. The journey ahead looks impossible. People around him shake their heads. Some tell him to be realistic. Others tell him to choose an easier path. A few even laugh at the idea that he could ever reach the top. Now imagine if he listened. Imagine if he turned around every time someone doubted him. Imagine if he quit every time the climb became difficult. He would spend the rest of his life wondering what might have happened. And regret is one of the heaviest burdens a person can carry. Failure hurts. Disappointment hurts. Rejection hurts. But regret can stay with you for decades. The pain of trying eventually fades. The pain of never trying can last forever. That is why you must keep climbing. Not because the journey is easy, but because your future deserves the effort. Many people underestimate themselves. They look at their current situation and assume it defines their potential. They look at their struggles and assume those struggles are permanent. They look at their failures and assume those failures tell the whole story. But your current position is not your final destination. The chapter you are living right now is not the entire book. The setback you experienced is not the end of your journey. Life is constantly changing. People are constantly growing. Circumstances are constantly evolving. The person you are today is not the person you have to remain tomorrow. That is why self-belief matters so much. Not blind confidence, not arrogance, self-belief. The quiet conviction that says, I may not have all the answers right now, but I am capable of learning. The quiet conviction that says, I may not be where I want to be, but I refuse to stay where I am. The quiet conviction that says, I will continue until something changes. When you are doing it alone, self-belief becomes fuel, because there will be moments when nobody else can provide it. There will be moments when encouragement is unavailable, moments when support is limited, moments when validation disappears. And in those moments, you must learn to become your own source of strength. You must learn how to encourage yourself. You must learn how to remind yourself why you started. You must learn how to keep moving, even when motivation leaves the room. Because motivation is temporary. Discipline is reliable. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline remains. Motivation depends on feelings. Discipline depends on decisions. And when you build discipline, you become unstoppable. Think about the people who changed history, the inventors, the leaders, the visionaries, the dreamers. Many of them spent years being misunderstood. Many of them experienced rejection. Many of them faced criticism from people who could not see the future they were trying to create. Yet they continued, not because they were fearless, but because they valued their vision more than their fear. That is a lesson worth remembering. Most limitations are not physical. Most limitations are mental. The human mind is incredibly powerful. It can convince you to quit before the journey even begins. It can magnify obstacles until they appear impossible. It can focus so intensely on risk that it completely ignores opportunity. But the same mind can also create extraordinary change. It can build courage. It can develop resilience. It can create hope in situations where hope seems absent. The key is learning which voice to follow. Inside every person, there are two voices. One voice says, "You can't do it." The other says, "Keep going." One voice focuses on fear. The other focuses on possibility. One voice reminds you of failure. The other reminds you of potential. Every day, you choose which voice becomes stronger. Every decision you make either feeds doubt or feeds belief. Every action you take either strengthens fear or strengthens courage. That is why action matters so much. Action creates confidence. Action creates momentum. Action creates evidence that growth is happening. Waiting rarely removes fear. Action does. The first step may feel uncomfortable. The second step may feel uncertain. The third step may feel difficult. But eventually, those steps become a path. And that path becomes progress. And that progress becomes transformation. One day, you will look back and realize something remarkable. The lonely season that once felt unfair was actually necessary. The struggle that once felt unbearable made you stronger. The obstacles that once frustrated you developed your character. The silence that once hurt you taught you independence. Life was never trying to break you. Life was preparing you for responsibilities, preparing you for opportunities, preparing you for a version of yourself you had not yet met. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all is this: you do not need everyone to believe in your dream. You only need enough belief to take the next step, then another, because extraordinary lives are not built through giant leaps. They are built through small acts of courage, repeated consistently over time. That is how mountains are climbed. That is how futures are changed. That is how impossible dreams become reality. And that is how people discover the incredible strength they never knew existed within them.